Hello everyone and welcome back to TowerGate. It is TowerGate day number 608, November the 15th, 2018, Thursday. Thank you so much for tuning in. Well, before I get to the breaking news of the day, let me get to a follow-up from a story we talked about yesterday. The story about Judicial Watch and the court hearing that was going to happen regarding the Rotten Reverend Clinton's private email server. So it appears that according to their website, the judge made two rulings today, one in favor of Judicial Watch and one not in favor of Judicial Watch. So the one that he shot down was that Judicial Watch was wanting to get the videotaped interviews of depositions that were done with people on Hillary Clinton's side. And the judge said, no, I'm not going to let you see the videos, those depositions. That's not going to happen. But he did say that Judicial Watch is correct, excuse me, and requesting more clearly defined answers regarding the actual setting up of the private server. Apparently, there were questions that were asked, written questions that the Rotten Reverend was supposed to respond to about specifically the setting up of the private server. And those answers were, in Judicial Watch's opinion, vague. And so therefore the judge has agreed, yes, those were vague answers. They need to be more specific and more defined. So he has granted Judicial Watch's request that the Rotten Reverend Clinton respond again to those questions specifically about the setting up of the private email server and how that came about and who was involved and that type of thing. So one win, one loss in that case in Wednesday's hearings. So we would expect that Judicial Watch, I don't know what the time frame is on this, but I expect that they will be getting these answers to these questions, more defined answers to these questions, and I'm sure that will be on Judicial Watch's website as soon as they get that information. And we'll keep following that. Well, it looks like Kevin McCarthy did prevail with 159 votes to Jim Jordan's 43. What does that tell us? Well, it tells us that there's 43 really solid Republicans in the Congress, in the House of Representatives, and there's 159 guys who are not straight shooters. That's what that tells us. It's unfortunate, but I do believe McCarthy is a little better than Ryan, only because he's under a lot more pressure. There's a lot more pro-Trump Republicans now than there were before when the last election, 2016 election, came about. As 2018 comes in, yes, we lost the House, but we also, in losing the House, we lost a lot of Republican anti-Trumpers. And so we have a chance in 2020 to take back those seats with really good pro-Trump Republicans. So there may be a silver lining around this dark cloud, but Kevin McCarthy, unfortunately, looks like he is going to be the minority leader, and if they win back the Congress in 2020, he would become the Speaker. So that's unfortunate, but it just means that we're going to have to apply more pressure on him, and hopefully with more people who support the Make America Great Again agenda, they can put some pressure on him and force McCarthy to be a lot better than Paul Ryan. I don't think McCarthy will be able to get away with what Ryan did. And as far as on the border wall, I don't know if McCarthy is serious or not, if he's just throwing this up there the same way they did with repealing Obamacare, throwing this stuff up there knowing good and well it has no chance of passing. Because as you know, McCarthy put this bill out as he was running for re-election and running to be, the Speaker, and of course after the election, minority leader, where he put out this bill to fully fund the wall. Well, I don't know if he really believes in it. If he does, why did he wait all this time to finally do that? I think it's a political move. That's just my opinion. We will see what happens, but that is the deal. McCarthy is going to be the minority leader. Now, we still have a good group of people there in the Freedom Caucus. I believe that Jordan will become stronger, and Meadows and all these guys will become stronger. But I think only if they actually succeed in exposing Spygate. if that doesn't happen, I think that they could actually end up looking weaker because, again, they'll look like Trey Gowdy, who looks like he's got a good game but actually doesn't produce any results. And that's what they want to try to avoid. The Freedom Caucus is who I'm talking about. So we'll have to wish them luck, and hopefully something will happen. I have some ideas on that, which I'll get to in a minute. And of course, as we talked about yesterday, the Department of Justice did come out today. Their Office of Legal Counsel, which is the, I guess, the most prestigious group of lawyers they have at the Department of Justice. The most talented or the best lawyers they have are in the Office of Legal Counsel at the Department of Justice. And they came out today with a fairly lengthy and complex, I guess you'd say, in the least. I read about half of it and my eyes were crossed. Couldn't read anymore. But it's a very lengthy explanation of why Matt Whitaker is legally able to serve as the acting AG, perfectly qualified. They really tried to put that to rest. So that's coming today from the Office of Legal Counsel, the Department of Justice, that should put down any efforts to challenge Matt Whitaker in court. Now, this Maryland case may still go forward, but obviously the Department of Justice is the highest authority, and that's who they would be appealing to. Now, they can appeal to the judge, but the judge is going to look at this statement and this information that came out today from the DOJ, and that's going to affect his ruling. And he's going to say, well, the highest authority on this is the Department of Justice legal staff, and they've said it's legal. Now go away and stop bothering me. That's probably how that's going to go. So it's probably going to go nowhere. But they know this. The tactic is just to create the chaos. That's the tactic. And there'll be much, much more coming from Matt Whitaker after January 3rd. I'll be having some advice for him. In fact, let me go ahead and do that now while I'm on the topic. So January 3rd is when the power in the House shifts to the Democrats, and we know what's going to happen. Massive subpoenas, investigations, and everything else. And Mr. Whitaker, you're going to be targeted big time. They are going to try to destroy you. They are digging right now as hard as they can to find anything. They're going to dig into everyone you know, anyone you've ever associated with, anyone you've ever talked to, anyone you've ever communicated with. They're going to be looking for subpoenas. They're going to do everything they can to destroy you beginning January 3rd. Right along with Trump, his family, his administration, anyone who would serve in his administration. They're going after everything. They're going for total chaos. Investigations from A to Z, subpoenas. They're going to tie up the whole thing. It's bad politics, but I think that these Democrats are just so blind with hatred that they're dying for Uncle Bob the Executioner to give them anything they can use to start the impeachment. And they'll probably be able to get enough votes to get it out of the House. It'll go nowhere in the Senate, but they will at least ways get the votes to get it out of the House. And they'll use that in 2020 to try to defeat Trump. This is what's coming, Mr. Whitaker. And it's coming regardless of what you do. Regardless of what you do, Mr. Whitaker, they're coming after you. You can think, well, now that I'm in this position, maybe I better not try to push this stuff too much because they will come after me and it'll create a lot of controversy, a lot of chaos, a lot of problems. There's a lot of potential risks. Maybe I should just let Uncle Bob do his thing, and maybe I should just lay low, and maybe I should just let this thing play itself out and just kind of wait and respond as I have to, put up my defenses. No, Mr. Whitaker, that's not what you want to do. I can assure you that the Democrats will only see anything that you do like that as weakness, and they will attack you even harder. There's only one solution for what we must do between now and January the 3rd. And that must be the following. First of all, in the House Intelligence Committee, Devin Nunes must produce his report 2, Acting Attorney General Whitaker, immediately. Goodlatte and Gowdy must produce their reports immediately. And they must both, along with everyone else that they can get, they must, which they've done before, but they've done it to Sessions and Rodenstein, they must now submit, after sending in their reports of all the information they've gained from all the evidence they've looked at and all the witnesses they've interviewed, they must literally demand that Mr. Whitaker appoint a special counsel to investigate the crimes of the FBI, the DOJ. Spygate. Mr. Whitaker, you must approve the declassification of the OR 302s, the Gang of 8 communications, the 20-page FISA document on Carter Page. These are all the things that must happen because you must go on offense. If you try to do these things after January 3rd, they'll never see the light of day, because beginning January 3rd, the Democrats, with all they're going to do, are going to completely dominate the media coverage. And the media, this is all they'll want to cover. The Democrats are going to give them plenty to keep them busy reporting on all the things that they're investigating. You will completely lose the media narrative, and whatever you try to do after January 3rd will just be lost in the haze. Mr. Whitaker, you must appoint that special counsel. Go on offense. It's time for massive, massive offense. Being on defense has not worked. And Uncle Bob, let me give you all... You keep hearing, well, Uncle Bob's wrapping up the investigation. It's about coming to an end. Bullshit. He's not wrapping up anything. He's going to drag this thing out until 2020 if he can. Why? Because one of his primary functions is to provide a shield for the FBI and the DOJ and the intel community. He's there to provide a shield. The only way that you're going to penetrate that shield, you obviously cannot go after Mueller directly, because then you will find yourself in the middle of a political shitstorm, and you could run into a lot of problems. That's fraught with a lot of problems. And that's pretty much been admitted to at this point. I don't see where Whitaker's made any statement at all suggesting he's going to rein in Mueller. And Mueller cannot shut down his investigation because he's providing the shield for his friends in the deep state. So the only solution to the problem, as I just stated, is for Nunes, Gowdy, and Goodlatte to produce their reports immediately to Mr. Whitaker, followed by and accompanied by the letter demanding that he appoint a special counsel before January 3rd. Because if you can at least get the special counsel out there, that is pretty much a public investigation. No, we don't learn what's going on behind the scenes during the investigation, but it's a known investigation that is happening, and therefore will provide some cover while at the same time putting tremendous pressure on Uncle Bob the executioner, because he'll know that there's another special counsel operating, looking at a lot of the same evidence, but looking for a different set of perps, a different set of criminals, looking at the FBI, the DOJ, all the people who produced all the information Uncle Bob is using to run his witch hunt. So then he'll have to think twice about everything he's got and what he puts in his report eventually. Because if it is proven, and we know it can be and should be proven, that the FBI and DOJ ran a frame-up operation on Trump and people around him, then Uncle Bob will have to radically change his MO. He's radically going to have to change his findings, and probably will be forced to cut what he's doing short to get out of town. because he can't come out and indict all these people and run this investigation only to find at the end that another special counsel has found that all the evidence that he used was fraudulent, based on fraud. So, this is, in my opinion, the action plan, the offense that must happen before January 3rd. Because if you wait till after that, it's just going to be buried. The only thing that the media is going to be talking about after January 3rd is all the investigations and subpoenas and all these other things that will be happening. It's about grabbing a hold of the media narrative. And for Mr. Whitaker, it's about being able to use that power he has right now, because on January 3rd, after that, his power will be greatly diminished because he is going to be the subject of investigation. They will be subpoenaing all kinds of documents about him, communications about him, and they will do everything they can to go after him. But if he appoints the special counsel before January 3rd, then it doesn't matter if they attack him at that point, because he'll have a special counsel already in place with a mandate, and they can attack Whitaker all they want. It's not going to stop what his special counsel is going to be investigating, and because of the rules that they have laid out for Uncle Bob as a special counsel, they will not, well, they will try, but they should not be able to go after this special counsel appointed by Whitaker. They should not be able to go after him or cover him any differently than they cover Mueller. They've made Mueller out to be this sort of god-like figure. Therefore, the special counsel that Whitaker appoints must also be viewed as some sort of a god, looking for the truth, looking at the crimes. This is the best way, and it's the only way. If, in my opinion, the Whitaker and Trump or whoever does not declassify all these documents, does not get a special counsel looking into the Spygate, if they do not get that thing going very, very soon, things could get very, very bad. They will find themselves totally on the defensive, and it's the consequences I don't even want to think about. The only solution to this problem is to immediately act and become very, very aggressive. Very aggressive. And going on offense. Meaning appointing a special counsel to look at the real crimes that occurred in 2016. This will seriously throw Uncle Bob the Executioner a wrench into his spokes. It will put a lot of people in the deep state on notice, make them quite nervous, and it will create a lot of problems for the other side, because now they'll be on defense. They'll be wondering what's going on, who's being investigated, who's going to turn, who's going to flip, and all these things. Everything that you see that's been used on the Mueller side will now be used on the other side. And this is the only way that I see that there's any hope of exposing the crimes of the deep state and providing an opportunity, a golden opportunity, for Trump to be reelected in 2020 and for Republicans to take back the House, hopefully with good Republicans, conservatives, libertarians, what have you. No more anti-Trumpers. So this is my recommendation, Mr. Whitaker. You better take my advice. If you think that trying to be Mr. Nice Guy and get along with these people is going to somehow work, I'm telling you, you're absolutely wrong. I don't care how nice you are. I don't care how much you try to appease Uncle Bob or the Democrats. They will only see that as a sign of weakness and attack you even more aggressively. The only solution to the problem is a massive action plan, an extremely aggressive plan to take down the deep state. This is a fight for everything. All the marbles are on the table. Everything is on the line here. That's certainly the way the deep state looks at it. They're coming loaded for bear. They're coming for Trump and everyone around him, including you, Mr. Whitaker. You better heed my words. You folks who I just mentioned, Nunes, Goodlatte, Gowdy, you better get those reports to Whitaker. You better follow that with a letter, accompany that with a letter demanding a special counsel. And Mr. Whitaker, you better follow that advice. Appoint that special counsel and you better approve the declassification of the Bruce Orr 302s, the Gang of 8 communications, and the 20 pages of the FISA court document on Carter Page, along with everything else. Do not wait for Huckleberry Horowitz's report. That's what everybody's saying you're going to do, that you're going to wait for Huckleberry Horowitz to give you his report. If the Democrats have control of Congress by that time, Huckleberry, knowing good and well that Uncle Bob's going nowhere, and he's working with Uncle Bob, is going to do the same thing he did last time. And what came of that? That's my advice, Mr. Whitaker. I suggest you take it. Now, let's move on to the rotten Reverend Clinton, who again is making crazy statements like the following. She's now saying that Stacey Abrams would have won that Georgia race if we'd had a fair election. Can you believe it? Stacey Abrams would have won if we'd had a fair election. So the rotten Reverend Clinton is now flipping the script to make it look like it's Republicans who have been cheating. Despite the fact that over the last week, what have we seen? We have seen that on election night there was a lot of Republicans who were winning. But since then, all these thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of votes have been coming in after the fact, and mysteriously, 90% of them appear to be going to Democrats. How's that possible? How is that possible? You see how that is? How the rotten Reverend Clinton operates? And keep in mind, that's her people down there in Florida and in Georgia. That's why I'm saying, again, Mr. Whitaker, you must take down the rotten Reverend. She's the one behind a lot of this stuff. You need to indict her for violations of the Espionage Act, and you need to indict her, or at least investigate her, for the Clinton Foundation crimes, the pay-for-play. You must drop it all, Mr. Whitaker. You're going to have to do it. Yes, it's going to create a hell of a shitstorm. Yes, it's going to, raise the level of craziness 10 notches. The whole thing could get really crazy. I agree. I understand. But if you don't do it, you are just going to be mowed over, right along with Trump and the Republicans in 2020. That's what will happen. You have no choice, Mr. Whitaker. The rotten Reverend Clinton, she's in full steam ahead mode. Now, as far as her statement on Stacey Abrams, Stacey Abrams is currently behind, last time I checked, by 55,000 votes. But they'll keep counting votes there in Georgia until they find enough Democratic votes that they can declare her the winner. That appears to be what the 2018 midterms, how they're working, is Democrats, after the voting day is over, they just keep counting votes until they find enough Democratic votes that they win. The agriculture guy there in Florida, secretary, he was up by 40,000 votes on election night. Now it looks like he's going to lose. He suddenly went from being 40,000 votes up on election night to being down like 5,000 votes. And now they're just about saying, well, about got the votes counted. Just enough. They're just stealing one election after another. Well, we have this spokesperson for this little caucus that's forming in the Democratic Party that's anti-Pelosi. All these people who said they would not vote for her for leadership, who are now being questioned about that, but they're standing their ground. And apparently their spokesperson is this Democrat from Texas whose name is Philemon Villa. Philemon Villa. And Philemon Villa says he will release a letter in about a week with the signatures of Democrats who will oppose Pelosi as Speaker. And he says he has enough votes to deprive Madam Botox of being Speaker. Pelosi was asked about that, and she says she will be the Speaker. So it looks like it's going to come down to some very hardcore, closed-door, bare-knuckle brawling going on between Nancy Pelosi and her chiefs, trying to put down this group of about 35 to 40 Democrats who are saying that they are absolutely going to deprive Nancy Pelosi of her leadership position. We will know because in about 2 weeks they'll be having the vote. So in the next 2 weeks, we're going to be finding out exactly who's going to win that epic battle. Will Pelosi be able to muscle these people under, or will she be forced out? And it's hard to imagine Nancy Pelosi being forced out of the speakership and then remaining in Congress. That's rarely ever done. Usually when you lose your position as speaker, you retire. You don't go back to being a regular member. So it's all coming down here, and we'll see whether Pelosi is victorious or whether this group led by Philemon Villa is the one who succeeds. And we'll find that out very soon here in the next week and a half or so. The Gateway Pundit has done a tally of the steal of the 2018 midterms, and they've determined that there have been over a dozen Republican House seats stolen and 2 Senate seats stolen. And of course, they're not done, because there's still 10 other House races out there which Republicans were leading, and now 7 of 10 of those are now being led by Democrats. That's 10 more Republicans who were winning on election night. Now 7 of those 10 are behind. I guess they'll stop counting when the other 3 fall behind, and then they'll pick up 10 more seats. By the time this thing's over, the Democrats could have a veto-proof Senate, a 2/3 vote in the Senate, and probably 300 seats in the House. If they don't quit counting votes, at some point they got to stop counting votes, especially since all the votes that come in after Election Day seem to be Democrats. Votes for Democrats. It's extraordinary. Well, it appears that Michael Avenatti, the creepy porn lawyer for Saggy Daniels, has been arrested and taken into custody on charges of domestic violence filed by his estranged wife. Apparently, he has punched his wife in the face, and he is claiming that she hit him first. I don't think that defense is going to work very well. Not in the days of the Me Too movement. Don't think so. And even if a woman does hit you, quite honestly, you can't hit her back. I mean, women slap. Maybe they try to punch, but they don't deliver a punch unless they're like boxers or martial arts experts or something. The average woman is not going to hit you hard enough to damage you. In fact, she shouldn't even really get the shot in. You should be able to block it. Unless your wife's really quick. You know, she's Sugar Ray Leonard or something. Generally, your wife shouldn't be able to beat you up. Okay, but even if she does hit you, you can't hit a woman. Okay, you just gotta walk away, Mr. Avenatti. You walk away. You turn around and you walk away. That's what you do. You don't duke it out with your wife or any woman. Okay, but apparently that's not what he did. He just punched her out, and then he's saying that she hit him first. I don't think that's gonna matter, and she'll probably dispute that. But she's the one with the bruises on her face, and he looked, in the picture I saw, I didn't see any marks on him. So, good luck with that, Avenatti, and that probably ruins any chance he had of being president. Oh boy, what a nutcase he is. Jeff the Flake is not done. He's going to show his ass one more time. It looks like Jeff the Flake is saying that he will not vote for any of Trump's judicial nominees until a bill to protect Mueller is brought up for a vote. He might as well be a Democrat. Now, McConnell has flat out stated he ain't going to bring a bill to protect Mueller up for a vote. So, whether or not they need Flake's vote or not, I don't know. But I do know that as soon as they went back in session, Grassley picked up right where he left off, nominating and getting confirmed more judges. They are trying to get as many judges confirmed as they can before the Democrats take over. But even so, they should hold the Senate. They should be able to get these judges confirmed and continue. And that seems to be the major push, is to get these Obama-appointed judges out and get good judges appointed. Because maybe they have a plan that there's going to be a lot of legal activity going on, and they want some good judges, because they don't have them now, that's for sure. The president of Fox News, Jay Wallace, is coming out in support of CNN's lawsuit with Jim Acosta against the Trump administration, the White House, and the Secret Service. Well done. As again, I've told you, Fox News, I don't like Fox News. There's a couple people on there. I like Tucker to some degree, Sean Hannity, although I can't watch him because he just drives me nuts because he just talks over his guests all the time. And that's really about it. I mean, it's really about it. There's just not much going on there, and I have no particular love for Fox. Let's see. Oh yeah, Bernie is going to introduce a bill to force Walmart to pay their employees $15 an hour. $15 an hour. Well, I don't think you can pass a law forcing one retailer to pay their employees, mandated by the government, a certain amount an hour. I mean, if you were going to pass a $15 an hour bill, it would have to apply to everybody. You can't just pass a bill to force one corporation to pay their employees $15 an hour. I mean, it's nutty. But Bernie's nutty. He's really got it in for Walmart. Of course, Bernie's part of the 1%. Let's not forget that. He's a millionaire, a multi-millionaire. But he hates millionaires. Unless they're socialist. The Black Caucus is also, they're voting also for the DNC head. And it looks like Tom Perez, who hasn't really been there that long, looks like Tom Perez got a complete no confidence vote from the Black Caucus, which means Tom Perez could very well be in jeopardy because, again, he's a corporate Democrat, and the Black Caucus is kind of aligning itself with the far left of the party. They're kind of, you can see this happening, and it's going to continue happening. You're seeing this division within the Democratic Party as the far leftists are now looking for allies so they can help, so they can pull allies with them so that they can challenge the corporate Democrats like Pelosi and Turn In Your Guns, Mr. and Mrs. America Feinstein, and all the rest. So there is going to be a big fat fight in the Democratic Party between the extreme left and the corporate Democrats. That fight is coming, and it's going to begin exposing itself as soon as we get past the first of the year, right around February, when these Democrats running for president come out and try to carve out their niche. Now we see the Black Caucus siding with the far left against the establishment of the Democratic Party, which Tom Perez represents, and now he is feeling the flame under his butt. I'm telling you, man, they've created a Frankenstein monster in that party that they thought that they could control, but they're going to find out that you cannot control the monster. Once you create it, boom, it's going to run wild on you. And they are going to find out they created a huge mess for themselves. It's ultimately going to end up biting them in the butt on the other end. Especially if Mr. Whitaker takes care of business. The first wave of migrants has now arrived at the border. I saw some video today of them jumping the fence in Tijuana. So they're now, the first wave has reached, and they're jumping the fences in Tijuana, heading into California. We'll see what happens. Lindsey Graham, who is possibly going to become the leader of the Senate Judiciary Committee, because Grassley looks like he's going to go become the leader of the Finance Committee. And if he does that, then he won't be the leader of the Judiciary Committee. Lindsey Graham would become the leader of the Judiciary Committee. And he's saying that he will investigate the Right Reverend Clinton's emails and also the 2016 election shenanigans if he is in fact the Senate Judiciary Committee chairman, which he will likely be, because Grassley has already said he will probably move over to the Finance Committee. So, that's how things are shaking out. Thank you so much for tuning in. We're back tomorrow with more TowerGate. See you guys. Have a good night. Bye.